Hey, Probstats kids. This is Dr. Callahan with Week7Tue. I hope you guys had a really good weekend and awesome Monday off. So, with that said, go ahead and pause the video and answer the following questions, and we'll get started shortly. Let's go ahead and add your assignment for today. So, we're going to go over to assignments for teams, and we're going to go over to prep and staff. Keep in mind that your grades are updated, so go ahead and feel free to take a look at your grade. This is your grade for fifth period, and on average, you guys have a 70%, which is not bad. For sixth period, just go on to Emma's team and take a look at it. You guys are pretty close to it as well. I believe you guys are just 1% less at a 68%. If you're curious as to why your grade is the way they are, remember this year we have adopted a more kind of like compliant and easier way of grading. So they are graded every single week. Scores are from 5 to 10. A 5 means that you get 50%, but you didn't really check in with me at all. Like I haven't seen you in person and I haven't heard you online on the hybrid days. You do get a 6 or a 7 if you've used some of the assignment. You get an 8 or a 9 if you turned in your assignments, and then 10 if you've been in person and you've uploaded all of your assignments for the last week. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you are to check in with me on the hybrid days because that does matter. All right, so let's go ahead and create the assignment. This is going to be for week 7, Tuesday. That's semester 2. Today, we're going to continue on with correlation. Our topic of discussion is going to be on regression lines, and that is our focus for today. I'm going to go ahead and make sure you guys are checking in with me for fifth period by 119, and then for sixth period by 2:20 for your attendance. You have until 3 p.m. to turn in your assignment. And we're going to go ahead and play this. All right, so with that said, let's go back to this. And we'll continue our things today. Here's the breakdown for your topic of discussion today. So take a moment and read it. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this. A few things I want to go over. A regression line is a straight line of best fit on a scatter plot. It describes how the response variable changes and the explanatory variable changes. You use a regression line to predict the value of a given value when you have the value x, or like for example, to predict the value of x when given a value y. The residual d is the difference between the observed y value and the predicted y value for the given x value of the line. And this is on page 6, by the way, you guys. So I would suggest you guys go ahead and copy this part down. So pause the video and do that. All right, so then let's take a look at the next part, okay? Because people draw different regression lines that appear to be aligned, we use at least a square regression line. Keep in mind that we've done this back in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 before, and represents slope, which is a positive number, also represents a negative number, which indicates a negative slope. Slope is going to be your rise over run, and it's basically the changes in the x value in the denominator with the changes in the y value in the numerator. Y-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. The two things you need is m, which stands for slope, and b, which is the y-intercept. It's also the starting point on the y-axis. And y with a little triangular shape is called y hat, just like remember we did p hat and q hat. All right, let's go over an example. So take a look at example 5. Go ahead and read the example on your own, and then copy down the 4 steps. Okay, take a moment and highlight all the important information from the example itself. X has a mean of 12, standard deviation of 1.3, Y has a mean value of 30, standard deviation of 4, and the correlation coefficient is 0.91. So let's take a look at this. So the X bar means it's 12, SX is equal to 1.3. It's given to you that the Y bar is going to be 30. The standard deviation for SY is 4. All right, and that's also giving you R equals 0.91. Now that I have these information from the example itself, I am ready for example 1. Example 1 is going to be for the value of A, which is R times SY divided by SX. So looking at that, let's go ahead and substitute everything in. R is 0.91, SY is a 4, divided by SX, which is 1.3. Grab your calculator and divide it. Multiply by 0.91, and you should get a 2.8 for your A value. Step 2. Step 2 is talking about B. B is equal to Y bar minus A times X bar. So let's substitute those values in. Y bar is 30. A is 2.8. X is going to be 12. And so looking at this, B is equal to 30. 2.8 times 12 is going to give you a 33.6. Subtract the 2. B is equal to a negative 3.6. Take a look at step 3. With step 3, you have Y hat is equal to AX plus B. Y hat is equal to A, which we found back in step 1, is 2.8x minus B, which is 3.6 from step 2. Now, I do know that my X value is given to me, and that X value is going to be a 4. So let's substitute it in. So then what is my Y hat? That's my step 4. Y hat is equal to 2.8 times 4 minus 3.6, which is 7.6. And that is your answer. Now that I've shown you guys one example, I'm going to have you guys go ahead and go on to example or objective number 10. It's on page 14. Pause the video and go ahead and answer this question on your own. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this. First thing I want to do is want to highlight all the important things. It's by 20 students, has a mean of 2.5 hours, standard deviation of 0.3. Those same students has another test score, which is Y, with a mean of 71.4, standard deviation of 12.4. Correlation coefficient is 0.79. So of course, we want to come up with all the important information before we proceed on with the 4 steps. So your X mean is 2.5 for the first test. For the second test, it is going to be 71.4. Your R correlation is 0.79. Standard deviation for X is going to be a 0.3. Standard deviation for Y is going to be a 12.4. Now that I have these components, let's go on to the first step. For the first step, we're going to look for A, which is R times SY over SX. Your R value is 0.79. SY is going to be 12.4 divided by SX, which is 0.3. If you go ahead and divide it, then multiply by 0.79, you should have a 32.6. So that is first step. Step 2. With your step 2, you're going to find B is equal to Y bar minus A times X bar. Your Y bar is going to be 71.4 minus A, which is 32.6, times X bar, which is 2.5. Well, let's go ahead and multiply this part out and then subtract it from 71.4. This part right here is going to give you an 81.5. So subtract that from 71.4, you get a negative 10.1. Step 3. You now need your Y hat. So Y hat is equal to AX plus B. So Y hat is equal to A, and A that you found from step 1 is 32.6 times X. X is going to be at 2.5 minus B, which you just found from step 2, which is a 10.1. And if you could go ahead and do that, let me know what Y prime is for step 4. And that is basically concludes your lesson today. The next thing that I'm going to have you guys work on is your project that is going to be due for the correlation. So then what I'm going to have you guys work on right now is I'm going to go over another example with you guys so you have an idea how to work on your project. Okay, so last time I talked to you guys about, we talked about the differences and relationships in between sleeping and also your score on an exam. So let's go ahead and find the correlation for this. I want you guys to write a summary of your finding. Is there a direct correlation on student study time and their test scores? And so rather than calculating this by hand, you can actually do this on an Excel spreadsheet. And I'm going to show you guys how to go about doing this. Okay, so on your Excel spreadsheet, you have your X value and your Y value. Now your X value is going to be the hours that you sleep. And similarly, your Y value is going to be your exam score. So on your Excel, you're going to go and insert the data for it. So hours of sleep starts from 0, 1, 2, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8. And there are 13 data. Exam on the score that complements this is 40, 41, 51, 48, 64, 70, 73, 75, 68, 93, 84, 90, and 95. Now, I can say for a fact that, it doesn't look like everybody that slept well got a significantly high score. I mean, you still have to study a little bit, but overall, I have to say it looks like it's fairly high. All right, so then from here, remember your first column is going to be x squared, then followed by y squared, and then it's going to be x times y. So then what you're going to do is you're going to just hit enter. Here's your x. I'm going to put times x. Enter, which is 0, which I expected. Now take that and just drag it down. These are all the answers. Look how quick that is. So much easier. For the y squared, you're going to take 40 times 40, enter, and you also drag this down. X times y, you're going to hit enter, x times y, and we're just going to drag this down as well. Okay, so then remember you need to have the underline of this, which is going to be the sum of x, the sum of y, the sum of e squared, the sum of y squared, and the sum of x times y. So we're going to hit enter, SUM, select the sum, and let's just go ahead and select that, enter. Look how easy that is. And you see the little corner right here? We're just going to drag it over, and it's to calculate all the things that we really need to know. So the really important piece, this part right here that I need for my table and data, I have right here. All right, so then let's go ahead and go back to our questions here. Okay, so if I were to go ahead and use this as my data, I'm going to go ahead and paste it. And I'm going to go ahead and take my equation, which is right here. And before I do the equation, take a look over the fact that you need to have a scatter plot. So let's go ahead and create the scatter plot because I'm assuming this is going to be my study, Okay. So if I do this on my scatter plot, I'm going to have to label this accurately. So let's go ahead and say that the x value on the bottom here is going to be hours of sleep. And the hours of sleep starts from 0 and it goes all the way up to 8. So I could probably just put 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then my y value here is going to be your score on the exam. Notice how the score starts at 40 all the way to 95. So if I put that as a 0 here, okay, then to get to 90, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I could do that. So it'll be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. All right, now let's go ahead and graph it. 0, 40. So at 0, it goes up to 40. 1, 41. 2, 51. 4, 48. 4, 64. 570. 573. 575. 668. 693, 784, 790, and 895. Okay, so this is my scatter plot, and just from a look at this, I mean, it looks like it's a positive correlation is kind of what it appears to be. And so now what I want you guys to do is, now that you have these numbers here, go ahead and take the numbers, and I want you to plug into the formula. So let's go ahead and do this. R is equal to N, which is, and there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So N equals 13 times EXY. So here's EXY, 4625 minus EX, which is 60, times EY, which is 892, all the way over square root times square root. Okay, first one is N again, so 13 times EX squared. EX squared is 346 minus EX parentheses squared, so that's going to be 60 squared, times N, that's 13, times EY squared, which is this massive number 65590, minus EY parentheses squared. So that's just, oh, you know what? I made a typo here. This is supposed to be EX. EX is actually 892 squared, and this will be that, okay? So we have gone over this before, so I'm just gonna have you guys go ahead and do the rest of this. But ultimately, just based on this graph, your R should be a pretty strong positive correlation. All right, you guys, so for the rest of the class today, make sure you guys complete your assignment for your correlation project. Make sure you guys pick an example that you would like to pick 10 numbers. You can create any 2 variables that you would like. Make sure you create the scatter plot, calculate the R value, write your summary of it, and just present it on the poster. As always, stay safe and healthy, and take care.